is a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about them Cowboys?
This is the DallasCowboys.com Draft Show. Your war room for insider news and draft analysis from deep within the confines of Cowboys headquarters at the Star in Frisco.
Dallas selects Emmitt Smith, running back from Florida.
And now your hosts, David Hellman, Jeff Kavanaugh, Kevin Turner, and Kyle Yeomans.
We are 5 weeks, 35 days, supposedly, until the NFL draft, which was originally going to be in Las Vegas, Nevada. I can't even say that anymore because things change over the course of the last couple of weeks, and now we look forward to the draft, still during the same dates, but it might look a lot more condensed, to say the least, because of the coronavirus and things going on that are out of the NFL's control. But we are still excited to give you some hot draft takes here on the DallasCowboys.com Draft Show. Jeff Kavanaugh, Kevin Turner, David Hellman, and myself, Kyle Yeomans. Guys, it's been a crazy week, not only because of outside factors, but also just overall with the moves and the shaking and the free agency. Kind of switches up the way that you think about this draft a little bit, doesn't it?
Well, free agency hasn't started yet. Oh,
it hasn't?
So I'm watching Gerald McCoy tape right now while we record the draft show.
That's good.
Just in case the Cowboys think about signing him at some point.
That would be huge.
Yeah, just to see what it would look like if maybe you added a player, which, of course, they have not. But
yeah, actually, free agency opens today.
Yeah.
Does it not?
Yeah.
So, I mean, we all know that.
We know what, Dave?
It's BS. The legal tampering window opened on Monday morning.
Negotiating period.
Negotiating period.
Tampering is illegal.
But
it's
no,
legal,
it's legal tampering.
Like, that's really kind of a
oxymoron.
It's an oxymoron. Yeah,
It
that's
is.
the word I'm looking for.
100% an oxymoron. But like Dave said, today is the official start of free agency. 4 o'clock Eastern time, 3 o'clock Central is whenever that window opens. So you're over there looking at Gerald McCoy. Apparently, he agreed to terms, reportedly, with the Dallas Cowboys. What are you seeing over there, Jeff?
Well, I see a guy that unfortunately is playing a lot of defensive end in a 3-man front, which is probably not fun for him because I know that he can play the 3 technique.
He was really good at the 3 technique for a while in Tampa Bay, right?
Yeah, now I would say in theory.
Okay.
In theory, if Malik Collins were to sign somewhere else.
Like maybe with the Las Vegas Raiders?
Yeah, them or wherever.
Yeah, wherever.
And in theory, if Gerald McCoy signed with the Cowboys, I would say even if Malik Collins is making more money, I think Gerald McCoy is a slightly better player today. It's just the difference of signing what is Malik, 26? The difference of a 26-year-old and a 32-year-old?
Yeah.
One of you gets paid a lot because they expect you to keep getting better, and one of you, they're like, please don't get worse. So the guy who you're hoping please don't get worse, I think will be a slight upgrade over Malik Collins.
You're talking about a 32-year-old who at one point was
dominant.
Well, I was arguably the best D tackle in the league. I mean, Gerald McCoy's peak was before Aaron Donald showed up. Mm-hmm. But even, 70% of what Gerald McCoy was sounds great to me for a team that and like this is what we've been talking about for 2 months. As you know that they're going to address things in free agency, they're going to lose players in free agency. Like theoretically, we thought Robert Quinn had a good chance to come back, but maybe he signs a deal that's worth twice as much as what people expected, and maybe he goes somewhere like Chicago. So this week is going to, and next week as well for that matter, but it's really going to shape out what we know about this roster because we were borderline clueless coming into the week, and now we're only starting to put it together.
Well, and there's so many other moves that are maybe going to happen in terms of Amari Cooper. He's returning, or supposedly returning. Byron Jones has agreed to terms to a 5-year, $82.5 million deal with the Dolphins. You talked about Quinn. Randall Cobb has moved on. We'll talk about some replacements for Randall Cobb coming up in the third segment, but you also have a couple signees. We talk about McCoy. You talk about Blake Jarwin. He has officially signed or re-signed an extension. And then Jason Witten has agreed to terms to go to the Las Vegas Raiders at this moment. But Where does that leave the draft for the Cowboys? Because there has been a lot of shifting, a lot of shaking, and McCoy's not the number one answer in terms of the defensive line. You're going to have to find some production to replace a guy like Robert Quinn, to just basically put bodies up there. You talk about Malik Collins, who's already gone. You might have that replacement with McCoy in that specific standpoint. But where does this leave the draft strategy for the Cowboys?
Well, your need at cornerback is still there and
Huge.
glaring. To me, your need on the defensive line is still there, even if you hypothetically do add Gerald McCoy. Whether it's defensive tackle or a defensive end, you still need to address that. You're still going to need a safety at some point. The need at wide receiver, I think, is the one that elevates a little more than maybe it did in the last couple months when we've been talking about it. And every time Jeff would bring up a wide receiver in the first round, and we'd go,
Let's go.
No, we got to
Let's
go
go.
defense. Now we go, well, you know what?
Let's go.
Passing on Jerry Jeudy might be kind of foolish if that's there for you. Things like that. So I know we'll talk wide receivers in the third segment, but I do think the way things have shaped out over the last couple days, if these signing or these agreements
There
do
you go.
come to
Agreements.
light,
Good word.
if they do come to light, then I do think the position that's kind of elevated itself and made itself more likely is wide receiver. But it's not a huge difference in what you needed anyway. You're still going to need to add a cornerback.
I disagree.
Uh-oh.
Can we?
Go get him, Dave. Go get him, Dave.
I'm not doing this because I went to Louisiana State University.
You probably are.
No, I'm not. But
Is it your son?
can we talk about Kayvon Chason?
We can.
Yeah, we can talk
Because
about
all right, we all four of us, we're smart men. We can read writing on the wall. We've known Byron Jones was going to be gone for the majority of this draft process.
it. It didn't stop me from being a really
You're right.
angry broadcaster the day he was gone.
You're going to beat that drum, and you're entitled to do it. That's totally fine. Point being is Byron Jones is likely out the door and has likely been out the door for a long time. Maybe you saw Robert Quinn coming. Maybe you weren't completely blindsided by it. But I thought there was at least a chance that they managed to bring him back.
I thought there was.
And so now right end looks real dicey. And I have the names pulled up right here. The Cowboys aren't going to sign Jadeveon Clowney. Let's be real. Everson Griffin's hanging out there. And then it's like not a super inspiring list. And so all of a sudden, edge rusher to me is...
I know a guy who could play right defensive end.
Oh, is he technically employed by the Cowboys but has a murky...
Yeah.
We're just really talking about a bunch of hypothetical stuff.
All I'm saying is that, once upon a time, there were certain things that would get to where you couldn't play NFL football, and those certain things no longer stop you from playing NFL football. So if I were a guy
we're talking
that
about
is
a
not
one
allowed...
Randy Gregory right now.
Wow, I wasn't talking about anybody. I'm just saying if I were...
you're hypothetically.
Yeah.
I just put the name on it.
If I were a guy who currently was suspended, but the reason I'd been suspended many times is no longer a reason people get suspended, I'm saying I would probably file for reinstatement and expect to play football the next year. So maybe they have a right defensive end and they just need some depth.
If Kayvon Chason is there at 17, do you let your hope for Randy Gregory dissuade you from that pick?
I'd pick the best player available.
Who are the guys that you're...
I'd take Jerry Jeudy over Kayvon Chason.
What if it was... I mean, let's get real hypothetical here and just say it's like Chason and C.J. Henderson. Like that, Judy's gone. It's not a wide receiver. I can't imagine they're going to draft a receiver in the first round now that Amari Cooper is hypothetically under contract for 5 years.
Well, Henderson versus Chason is easy. You trade down one spot,
Nope.
and you see who picks one of them, and you pick the other.
No, you can't do that.
And if that doesn't work, you trade down one more spot until somebody picks
Tell
one
me
of
who
them.
you like more.
50% of them are gone.
I trust Henderson.
Okay.
Even more than Chason?
Chason's 6.5 sacks in his best college season ever.
He's Chason.
I like the traits.
Chason is an upside pick.
Got a
Yes.
huge
He's
ceiling.
ascending process.
Right.
prospect.
CJ Henderson's got tape that says he could be a really, really, really good NFL corner, and Chason has glimpses where you're like, I think so.
See,
I think.
I'm just all. I mean, you don't want to panic pick. I get that, but that could solve a lot of your problems with your pass rush. If he even falls that far, which I don't think is going to happen. He's too athletic for a team to let him fall to 17.
This is why they do exercises and they stack them up.
Yeah.
And I like to keep Kinlaw in the mix, but we'll see what happens there. Well, no matter if Gerald McCoy is here or not. But if I've got Henderson, Chason, all three of those wide receivers, keep those guys in there, right? Ruggs, Judy from Alabama, and also CeeDee Lamb from Oklahoma. You're putting them on a board. How are you guys ranking those 5 guys?
I only heard CeeDee Lamb at the end, so I'm sure he's at the top.
Three
Who are
wide
the other ones?
receivers. The three wide receivers: Chason and C.J. Henderson. And Kinlaw. So 6 guys.
So Chason would be last. Henderson would be second to last.
And your 3 receivers up at the top?
Yeah, the 3 receivers would be at the top.
And then Lamb is the top of the 3?
Would Kinlaw be ahead of the wide receivers?
Kinlaw may be ahead of Ruggs, but not ahead of Judy or CeeDee.
Okay.
I think I would take. I can't pass on CeeDee Lamb if he's there. I can't do it. Probably not Judy either, but I don't really believe one of them might be there. I don't think both of them will be.
I think one of the 3 will be there.
And then
overall,
yeah. I don't know. I'm not.
You don't think so? You're not sold on that?
I'm not drafting Ruggs at 17.
No.
I would draft Lamb or Judy at 17, and then probably.
Cardinals might have helped you out there by getting DeAndre Hopkins.
Absolutely.
8 might have just gone from receiver to offensive tackle.
Offensive tackle,
right.
absolutely.
No,
and they need to go OT. Arizona
meanwhile,
does.
which I was really excited. Another piece of the million things that have happened this week, the Colts theoretically traded for DeForest Buckner. They gave number 13 to San Francisco.
Who doesn't need a wide receiver?
Well, but they do need a defensive tackle, though, so that's a roadblock for Javon Kinlaw.
Are we pretending the 49ers are stocked at receiver right now?
Well, they got to the Super Bowl, and they had a guy named Deebo Samuel that was one of their best pieces.
Daniel Sanders is a free agent.
Yeah, they're receiver core. Although
Deebo and what? Dante Pettis? Marquise Goodwin?
The 49ers they also have like no picks whatsoever. I wouldn't be surprised if they don't make that pick.
If they trade out of it.
Which is smart.
Absolutely.
Always trade down unless you're going up for a quarterback.
Maybe they trade back to 17 because the Cowboys have their eye on
a Kinlaw?
Kinlaw or a Chason or whatever.
Yeah, the 49ers will get creative with pick 13 and pick 31 that they have now, right?
Yeah.
So I bet they get a target for Kyle Shanahan. I can't see them not adding a wide receiver at one of those picks.
I just
if
know
they
that
keep those picks.
I was gonna say after those 2 picks, I don't think they pick again until the 4th round.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't be shocked. They're not making both of those picks. I have a hard time believing
You really
that.
think they're going to make that trade, though, and they're going to get rid of DeForest Buckner and go up to 13 and draft a guy that's a wide receiver in a wide receiver loaded class when you can get a game changer in the later rounds? I think they're going up for somebody else.
If they stick and pick, I don't think they're going up for anybody. I don't think
you just think that was a move.
Yeah, I think that was a move.
Still want to pay him. Yeah,
I think that was you give him $20 million and we'll take a first round pick
and we'll take a pick
and we'll figure it out
and keep the winning window open and not get you look at a team in their division like the Rams who have gone all in on just bringing guys in and paying them, and they're sitting there panicking, going, "Is our window closing?" The 49ers are like, let's keep this thing open.
Yeah.
I think John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan have a pretty good plan in San Francisco.
Based on their numbers last year, their number 2 receiver right now would be Kendrick Bourne.
Oof.
So, I think they're going to get a receiver.
They could maybe pick a receiver. Yeah. Now, kind of going off of what Dave just said, let's get nuts with this. We're talking about you made
this whole segment feels nuts.
It
anyway,
is. It's such a hodgepodge.
49ers pick at 34, by the way, too. So 13, 31, and 34.
And
they
then
don't
not
pick
again until like the
5th.
4th. Okay.
Oh, they're balling.
Yeah, they're in good shape.
So, with that being said, if they wanted to pick up a couple picks from, let's say, a team that is currently at 17 overall, like Dave said facetiously a little bit earlier.
It was facetious for the record.
What player would have to fall to 11 or 12 in order to try and trade up and hope that he falls to 13?
Only 2 of them exist that I would go up for.
One is CeeDee Lamb.
No,
I'm
not going up for a receiver.
Can't trade up for a receiver.
No, I would only go up for Okudah, and I would go up for Isaiah Simmons. Find a way to get one of them to 13, and I'll go up.
What'd you go up for Derek Brown?
My 1 and my 3.
Derek Brown.
That's such
hypothetically Gerald McCoy and DeMarcus Lawrence starts to feel pretty good.
Yeah, but at the same, and I don't mean to throw shade at Gerald McCoy, but I just think about pairing him with DeMarcus Lawrence is one thing, but do defensive tackles affect the game enough to be worth that type of resource? And I know
this team might be desperate for that because last year I feel like their defensive tackles didn't help their ends at all.
But
theoretically,
and
they didn't help their linebackers at all.
Theoretically, don't know for sure, but Gerald McCoy, who is he's had 5 sacks for 7 straight years. He's a pretty good player. Could be in the fold to help you with that.
I don't know if I'd go up for Derek Brown. I have no doubt I would go up because to me, Okudah and Simmons are top 5 players in the draft class.
We're talking about going up to 13, right?
Yes.
if Derek Brown's at 13, you go get him. He's falling because of his test numbers.
What's the most?
What else?
No. I don't think he's falling because of his test numbers because he posted a video of him running a 3-cone at his training facility that was like 7.5 seconds instead of 8.2, which probably took him 50 times to run, and that's why he finally posted it instead of running at Pro Day. But whatever.
You're so mean.
What's he falling for then?
Because I think people are wondering what's a nose tackle. What's a nose tackle worth?
I mean,
Even a great one. When Snacks Harrison was highly paid, he was getting traded for 4th and 5th round picks, and he was the best nose tackle in the league. What's a nose tackle worth?
We've talked about offensive tackles. I mean, there's going to be a couple of those that'll go in the top 10. Maybe another team stretches and takes an offensive tackle there.
Maybe 3.
So there's 3 going in the top 10. You talk about the quarterbacks.
Offensive tackles are worth it. Quarterbacks are worth it. Is a nose tackle worth trading up for in the first round?
What am I giving up to get there?
First and the third.
To go from 17 to 13?
You giving up the third?
Probably your 3rd round pick.
At least.
Yeah, it's all up to the team.
Boy, that's tempting to get Derek Brown in there, though.
I don't agree with you at all. I mean, and I get it. It's frustrating. I don't think the Cowboys value nose tackle enough or haven't in the past.
They don't.
But I still don't want to trade up for I'm with Jeff.
So let's get a lot of Antoine
tackle.
Woods out there again this year, guys. No offense, but
Just sign a guy. Sign Snacks.
Yeah,
I mean,
Snacks is literally available right now.
I would love for that to happen, but what do we
fix this with money? The draft is about value. Free agency is about need.
I like your 2. And okay, again, this is not so much about my own evaluation, but it reminds me a lot of DeMarcus Lawrence, actually. If any team, let alone the Cowboys, is convinced that Kayvon Chaisson is the only other difference-making edge, that's the type of guy you trade up for. Because, I mean, you have Chase Young and then Chaisson, and aren't those the only guys with twitchy pro upside? I mean, AJ Epinesa and Yader Gross-Matos.
I like Gross-Matos.
Do you think? Again, I know you don't love Chaisson, but do you think his upside seems as high to you?
No, not as a pure pass rusher.
Right.
No.
And if you're convinced that Chaisson is ascending, that is a guy that a team would absolutely trade up for if they were sold that he was that guy.
I think there's going to be a guy that pops in this draft class as a pass rusher. It's just, can you guess which one it is? Between Uchi at Michigan and Okwara at Notre Dame, and just run down your list of Curtis Weaver. There's going to be a guy
Khalid
that pops.
Kareem,
it's just
Notre
a matter
Dame,
of which
one of
one
those
is
guys.
Greenard from Florida, I love him.
Yeah.
That's a second round pipe dream for me.
Right.
So yeah, no, but it's who's going to be this year's Max Crosby, or we do this every year.
Danielle Hunter. So that's why, Danielle Hunter, that frame is what puts you on to guys like Chaisson.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Because you're hold on, the guys who are 6'5", 6'6", 250, the Randy Gregory build.
Sure.
Yeah.
That plays. That plays.
Which is why I could see that's. I don't think he's an option at 17 realistically, but with Robert Quinn probably no longer in the building, it's something you got to look at, and I don't think you're replacing that in free agency with the guys that are available. We'll see what happens with Randy Gregory. That is worth pointing out, but I can't count on it.
I don't want to write the idea of Chaisson at 17 off, only because the NFL surprises us sometimes. We all watched Cleveland Farrell, the Clemson defense,
top 5,
who announced how you say his last name after he was drafted, after we called him Farrell for years. And when you watched him on tape, going into the year, people were talking about him as a top 10 pick. But when you watched him on tape, you're like, oh, that's a second-round guy.
Solid.
And the Raiders were like, oh, top 5 pick.
Yeah.
That was amazing.
Will somebody do that with Epinesa sneak into the top 15 because somebody is just like, yeah, that's our guy? There's going to be names in the first round that we go, ooh, wow, really?
Yeah, where did that come from?
That's going to happen.
Now, okay, kind of with that being said, it seems like lost in the shuffle has been the safety position. We've talked about corner because Byron Jones left. We've talked about defensive tackle and that defensive end because there's an obvious need there for the Cowboys. But safety's kind of gone to the wayside, even though Jeff Heath has reportedly agreed to a deal with the Las Vegas Raiders over the past 24 hours. So now, where does that put safety on your board? 17 or later?
Darian Thompson, theoretically, supposedly back with the Cowboys. So put that in your pipe and smoke it.
I honestly think they would roll that out.
Wow.
Darian Thompson and Xavier Woods. And you go look at some of Darian Thompson's snap counts last year.
I can't
say. And you go, man, when he was healthy, he played. I could see them not doing much.
I can't say I'd be surprised.
Donovan Wilson had a great preseason. Where's he at? We making some progress?
It's interesting, though. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Well, I'm just saying, these leopards don't really change their stripes too much.
Well,
or
spots.
Spots, yeah.
Leopards are spots.
Cheetahs. They have spots too.
They're different.
What's the phrase?
You can't tell the
I was looking
difference.
for?
These are different leopards, though. These aren't the same.
Kind of.
I mean, I know it's.
Well, it's the same king leopard, but a lot of the
It's still in
princes,
the cat family.
Don't you? God, we are so off the rails right now.
This is awesome.
Don't you feel like? I mean, again, nothing is finalized, but the fact that the Cowboys are even showing interest in Gerald McCoy to me signals that things are at least slightly different than they were.
But they've liked 3 techniques over the years. It's the one technique
Yeah,
and
it's true.
the safety position. Like, those are the things that you're having to pull them and go, please, please draft one of these.
Yeah.
Oh, maybe on day 3 we find a guy we like and we will. So, like, it's very interesting. I just when Darian Thompson, if that ends up happening, as free agency begins in the next few days, to me, I just immediately went, dude, he played a lot when Jeff Heath was banged up last year. They trusted him to play a lot. It was Darian Thompson and Xavier Woods back there a lot last year.
I completely agree with you that I can't rule out the possibility that they roll that out. But safety to me is interesting because it's crazy. We did the draft show last week.
Yeah.
And we kind of hypothesized like, man, maybe this COVID-19 thing is going to affect things. Like, oops, we didn't even come close to hitting on like how much was going to be affected, and that's
in a week.
In a week,
it could still change from here on out. That's another thing.
I think about Grant Delpit all the time because I said, Grant Delpit didn't work out at the combine. He's kind of a forgotten man. He's going to go to LSU's pro day and light it up, and everybody's going to be talking about him as a first round pick again. He's not going to have that chance anymore, probably. And I've talked to people on the scouting side who were like, this is going to mess with stuff more than you can understand.
What about Tua?
Yeah, I mean,
yes.
Any number of prospects. Guys aren't coming into facilities. So instead of spending 2 days with a guy, getting to know his personality, letting him wow you in the meeting room and get on the whiteboard and all that good stuff, you're going to have a 20-minute Skype session with a guy.
Yeah.
And if you don't have numbers to stand on by now, you're probably not going to get a chance to post new ones. And I think there's going to be more guesstimating going on with NFL scouting departments with this draft than since the 80s, probably.
Which could make more, like Jeff was saying earlier, more picks.
Absolutely.
Early in the draft. Also free agency, too. Hypothetically, wouldn't you want to, let's see if we can get Jadeveon Clowney in here, at least give him a physical, right?
Sure, yeah.
You'd love to do that, hypothetically, but not really able to do that right now. So it's affecting all of it.
Which I even, not to get too deep in the weeds with coronavirus, but NBA players continue to test positive for it. And, knock on wood, I'm not trying to speculate too much, but what if a guy who's about to sign a major contract has COVID-19? You know what I mean? It's just wild to think about.
I think there's going to be a lot of people that have it and don't know they have it.
Absolutely.
Yep.
And what does that do? I mean, man, we could go real deep on that. So I'll refrain from anything. But I feel like this is going to last a little longer than we thought it was going to.
Yeah.
It's not an indefinite thing that the draft even happens at the end of April.
Right now.
The draft could be pushed back. The NFL's done a good job of keeping things on track and being a really good distraction.
Yeah.
Through all this, but I'm not convinced the draft even happens.
There's not going to be
the
public aspect's not going to happen. We're not going to get to see Joe Burrow ride a boat across the Bellagio fountain, which is really disappointing. But yeah, I mean, is it going to be a conference call? Is it going to be a teleconference? Are they going to Skype the draft?
Dude, Tom Brady's
With that being said,
nothing's going to surprise me anymore.
You kind of threw out a couple ideas there. There's actually a Twitter on the 20 question that has to do with that. So let's go ahead and go to our break. When we come back, we'll address that question, look at some innovative ways on how we're going to hold this draft here in 2020, and some other questions from your Twitter questions when we return here on the DallasCowboys.com Draft Show.
I'm Jay Novacek, former tight end for the Dallas Cowboys. Back in the day, I was the guy who always got the tough yards, and that's why I run with John Deere today. In fact, I have a John Deere 3025E tractor that can handle any yard work I need to do, even the tough yards way out back. So if you have 1 acre or 1,000, John Deere has the equipment that's just right for you. Visit a John Deere dealer today and run with us. We are the official tractor provider of your Dallas Cowboys.
Essilor is a proud sponsor of the Dallas Cowboys, helping fans see more and do more with our best vision solutions. Our lens technologies reveal a world more beautiful than you can imagine. For a limited time, get the Essilor Next Gen offer. When you buy the latest generation of Transitions lenses with select Essilor lenses, you can choose a second pair of clear lenses for free with qualifying frame purchases. Restrictions apply. Find a participating eye care professional by visiting EssilorUSA.com. Essilor. See more, do more.
Want to use what the pros use? How about the official men's skincare brand of the Dallas Cowboys, Jack Black? Right now, you can get the Jack Black Starter, a curated collection of Cowboys locker room favorites for just $10 with free shipping. The starter includes 4 Jack Black skincare favorites, plus a full-sized intense therapy lip balm. Go to getjackblack.com/Cowboys and use the code word TEAMJB. That's getjackblack.com/Cowboys. The Jack Black Starter, $10, free shipping.
Your new apartment's big. Such a great deal.
It's okay.
Just okay? What's not to...
It's right above the subway!
Well, I bet you don't even notice it after the...
That's my neighbor, Angus!
A deal that's just okay is not okay. Get a great deal with America's Best Network. Come into an AT&T store to find out how to get one of our popular smartphones for $0 down. Based on GWS 1 score, September 2019.
This is the DallasCowboys.com Draft Show.
Welcome back into the DallasCowboys.com Draft Show, presented by Miller Lite. Jeff Cavanaugh, Kevin Turner, Dave Hellman, and myself, Kyle Yeomans. Let's go to some Twitter on the 20.
Twitter on the 20s.
I like that.
Shout out Ed Cahill. Shout out Brian Broaddus.
Absolutely. Always and forever. Now,
thoughts and prayers.
First question.
Peace and blessings.
JD on Twitter said, they say the draft is going to a non-public event, and they will think of an quote-unquote innovative way to do it. If you were in control, guys, how would you make the event more enjoyable as a non-public event?
Do you want my real answer or my fun answer?
That's a great...
Let's do both.
Fun answer.
Why not?
JT, I want your fun answer.
My fun answer is live animals and a wheel, and you spin it, and that's what that's what player your team gets.
That's...
Boom. All right,
fun?
up first, the Cincinnati Bengals spin the wheel of all.
So you're just going to completely change the complexion of the draft.
It said more
they
enjoyable.
get the Georgia kicker. That's where the wheel landed.
The
First
question,
overall.
All I can do is answer the question asked. And that's the question that was asked.
That was a bad
to me.
answer, KT. I thought there was going to be something really cool there.
All right, I'll take the rest of the answer off.
What if they did it like The Voice and like all the teams sit in chairs and face away from the prospect?
There's 32 chairs.
Do we just read off his stat line?
Yeah,
his
he
combine?
walks out, and the first person to hit the button.
Oh.
And like you think it's Joe Burrow, but you hit it and it's actually like Jacob Eason. You're like, ah!
Everybody's just sitting there waiting to hear 16 and a half sacks. Bam!
Yep.
Chase Young's mine.
Exactly.
Now, I would like to see the front offices fight over the guy once they both press the button.
Yes.
And then they just fight back and forth. I think that would be entertaining.
Oh, yeah. Physically or?
We could. You're talking about spinning animals, so. I mean, you could.
You spin the players. The animals are just there.
It's going to be interesting if they're not allowed to do it publicly with, no more than like 20, 30 people in the room, but they still want to televise it. Mm-hmm. They're not going to have they're not going to have 80, 30 players sitting in a green room.
No, I don't think this is hard though, and I don't think it really affects it at all.
People are going to watch.
However many analysts are going to have on the TV, which you don't need the TV. All you need is to listen to us during the draft. But if you have to watch on TV,
it's a good point.
They could have analysts that are in different locations put onto a screen, and then they could have the board behind them, and you could have another camera with whoever's announcing the picks. Like I don't think this is a big deal for the draft, other than the preparation part of the draft.
Agree. I mean, that's the big one, is how it's going to affect how they prepare. But, it's the NFL. They're going to try to find a way to make it over the top and entertaining. They're not just going to let the teams sit in their war rooms and phone in their picks. They need
like the
more
MLB draft.
Yeah,
from the MLB Network studios.
There's going to have to be a visual component to this to please the TV audience.
Well, in kind of going back to even the way that they've done it in the past, how big of a role have the fans actually been in the draft process up until maybe the last 5 years? Because in the past, it was just in New York. It was in a theater. You had fans in a dark lit room way back in the back. But then now that they've started moving the draft to these different cities, you have those fans start showing up, like in Nashville and Philadelphia and Dallas, of course, who hosted it back in 2018. There are these different aspects to having these fans in the building, but before that, it really wasn't. The fans weren't the main attraction. The picks are always going to be that main attraction.
When you try to push the draft back a month just to try to see if things slow down,
I think it's
still keep it in Vegas or do the same thing that you're going to do in April anyways.
Well, it's
I think
roll
teams
the dice.
will want you to push it back. I think the time is they're going to reach a time when they realize, oh wow, we do want to see Tua throw. Yeah. Oh, I do want to do my 30 visits. Oh, I do. Like there's a lot of parts of this process that are getting skipped. Yeah, and I think teams will be asking the NFL, hey, if it looks like this is going to wind down at all, and we can find ways to get our visits in and get workouts in and get more medicals in, can we do that?
It just feels like it might be too soon to say. I mean, think of how, a week ago.
You could have told me restaurants were going to be closed.
A week ago, we were only just starting to grasp the severity of this. And I'm not a medical expert, but it doesn't sound like it's going to be done anytime soon. So, I don't know. Revisit that topic in a couple weeks. 'Cause, I agree with you. I'm not 100% convinced that it'll happen on the regularly scheduled weekend.
Okay, so our next question here on Twitter on the 20 actually comes from all the way out in California. Mike Crum asks, does McCoy signing with the Cowboys affect the comp picks next season? Can they target that, or wouldn't it likely affect those comp picks like Byron and Quinn?
So it's a fun thing to keep in mind when you're watching what the Cowboys do is it doesn't affect the comp pick formula when a player has been released.
Right.
But McCoy was on a one-year deal. He's a regular old free agent. So, yes, bottom line, when they sign him or if they sign him, we'll see what the money looks like. We'll see the guarantees. It will probably affect that formula.
But here's the good news. I promise Malik Collins is going to get more than Gerald McCoy gets.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So at worst, you can wash out that comp pick. Yeah, you're still looking at Byron Jones and Robert Quinn and Randall Cobb.
I do not
solid ones.
I don't know about Cobb because
Cobb will get you at least a fifth,
like Beasley did last year.
And Byron will get you a third, and Quinn will be a 3 or a 4.
And if they were to sign McCoy, we think that would probably be that would probably take away like your fifth, probably.
It would take away your Malik Collins one that we don't even have considered yet.
But the size of the Byron and Quinn deals those Gerald McCoy is not going to wash that out. And honestly, I saw what you said on Twitter yesterday, Jeff. I would be surprised if the Cowboys do a super sizable deal. One, because they don't do that anyway, but two, they don't want to mess with those picks.
What about Jeff Heath as well? Are you going to get one for him?
They're projecting currently on Over the Cap that both Witten and Heath will get you 6th-round picks.
Is that right?
So apparently $4 million deals can get you a 6th-round pick.
That's crazy.
Load up.
Wait, but also, you got to keep an eye on those because the Cowboys have to bring players into their team.
For sure.
They can easily wash those out.
They will probably wash those out just over the course of the next few weeks by just doing routine business.
Or go sign Desmond Trufant or something, and then you're like, whoa.
I would try really hard. If I'm the Cowboys, I would try really hard to bring in guys that were released or trade late-round picks.
Trufant was released.
Snacks Harrison was released.
Linval Joseph was released.
Leonard Floyd,
Floyd was released.
Jerry on the record said that he liked him back in that Peter King article from 2016.
Brandon Carr, they just said that his option wasn't picked up, so I guess that counts as releasing him. So
they'll fill it out. They always party a little bit late in free agency too. We've seen that.
I'm keeping my eyes on guys who were released from old contracts because that doesn't affect your comp formula.
Okay, our next question has to do with still free agency, but keeping it with the 2020 draft. And I like this guy's name, the Landalorian. He says, which non-Cowboys free agent signing will have the largest effect on the Cowboys' first-round pick, and which move will have the largest effect on the draft overall? Talking about free agency in general, and then also specifically what could affect the Cowboys. We talked about Buckner and the Colts a little bit earlier with the 49ers now picking at 13.
The Hopkins trade.
That one might be the one for me.
Hopkins trade is the big one because you're seeing a lot of, it's mock draft, so who knows, but you're seeing a ton of CeeDee Lamb to Arizona talk, and now I think you're going to see nothing but Jedrick Wills, Tristan Wirfs, Mekhi Becton. I think you're just going to see left tackles going to Arizona. Mm-hmm. So I think DeAndre Hopkins is... That's number one, right?
Yeah, I think so. And I think also, they're in front of the Cowboys. The Bucks pick at 14.
Yeah.
And if it does become official that they end up signing Tom Brady, that's another team that doesn't need a quarterback. So it could potentially be a situation where maybe one of those quarterbacks, Jordan Love most likely, maybe doesn't get to 17. It's very possible. I do think all 4 quarterbacks will probably go before 17, but it's possible. So
also
that could come into play.
Indianapolis was a hot spot for a quarterback as well, in which they could still do that. Phillip Rivers is only supposedly signing to a 1-year deal, but it seems a little less likely now.
Not if their first round pick is gone.
Yeah.
So.
Oh well, yeah.
Because they were at 13.
Dave,
that's
got
gone.
rid of 13.
How about this?
So.
You're in for a little half-baked idea, real quick.
Oh gosh.
Just real quick. Matt Stafford to the Patriots. The Lions draft Tua at 3.
Didn't we establish that like trading?
That's half baked, but I liked it.
Didn't we I'm pretty sure we established like trading Stafford would absolutely cripple their cap.
Yeah, it costs like 28 or 30
It's like a $30 million cap hit to not have him on the roster.
And that would ruin my Cam Newton to New England plan.
Also, yeah,
I'm
it's
trying
not
to get Cam to New England because what's
not
happening is Bill hated Tom because Tom was an old man that couldn't move anymore. And he was like, man, the NFL, you got to be able to move. Lamar Jackson just killed us. So he's going to be like, oh, wait, can I get Cam for like a 4th-round pick, 5th-round pick? Sweet.
Actually, I'll do you one better, so I love the idea, but it's not the Patriots.
Yeah, we're having fun.
It's not the Patriots style to pay that price anyway.
Oh, sure.
What they're going to do is wait for the Panthers to cut Cam when nobody wants to trade a lot for an injured old quarterback, and then sign him to a very favorable deal because players want to play for Bill Belichick.
Or Jarrett Stidham is going to win the whole thing.
Yeah, that's
they could go on a
Or they're going
run.
to flip a 5 for Josh Rosen and
They could
start
tank
the new
it up.
dynasty.
I kind of want to go back to kind of just sticking with this question, but going back to Tom Brady and the Buccaneers talk, of course, with them being up in front of the Cowboys, they need offensive tackle help and corner help. So is there a chance that maybe some of those better offensive tackles go off the board early? We talked about a Becton, we talked about a Wirfs, and maybe an Andrew Thomas from Georgia. There's 3 guys maybe 4 guys that go in the top dozen picks in terms of offensive tackles. Is it possible that C.J. Henderson doesn't even make it to 17 because the Buccaneers may pick him up there?
Oh, sure.
Absolutely.
Atlanta, too.
The minute C.J. Henderson ran a 4.39, I started to think,
uh-oh.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when a guy that size can run and obviously the tape's more important, but when you show you have that straight line speed at the one position where straight line speed is very, very important, it makes sense. I
Makes a ton of sense.
I wouldn't bank on him being there at all.
The Bucs at 14 could use a cornerback.
Yep.
The Broncos at 15 could use a cornerback with Chris Harris not being there anymore.
Ooh, that's a good point, too. That's another free agent move that could affect how the Cowboys draft.
Look, cornerback's a premium position. So and that's why I think that's the Derek Brown sliding thing is becoming more of a realistic type of thing.
I believe
what
that.
we were talking about earlier. So
I believe he'll slide. I just don't know that I'm willing to give away a premium pick to go get him.
I want a team to get drunk and go draft a running back in the top 16 picks. That's what I'm looking for.
J.K. Dobbins.
Ooh.
That's what I'm looking for.
DeAndre Swift.
That would be malpractice.
I mean, there's a guy in Houston named Bill O'Brien.
Yeah, great point on
that happened in a hurry, didn't it?
happen.
Like, there's really good running backs in this draft, but nobody's even going to talk about them in the top half of the first round because the world learned that quickly. They were like, don't do that.
Well,
Just
not
don't do
only
that.
okay. To be fair, though, like there's not a running back deserving of that type of pick.
Oh, they're all the same.
That's not.
Saquon
That's
Barkley.
offensive,
Saquon
sir.
Barkley is not a much better football player than DeAndre Swift.
Yeah, I think you're being you're exaggerating to fit your bit right now. That's
I don't
what
do
you're doing.
bits.
Yes, you do.
I don't do bits.
Falcons at 16 just cut their running back. Now that
did.
tells you
Yeah.
A, they needed to save some cap money, or B, maybe they don't value the running back as much, or C, hey, we're at 16, we can get the first running back in the draft, and we'll just pay him way less than we're going to pay Devontae Freeman.
Wouldn't that be
Just
great?
throwing out ideas to try
Wouldn't
to
that
make
be
things look
great?
a little better for
Listen,
the Cowboys at 17.
I understand and agree with the philosophy that like running back is the most easily replaceable position in football, but if there was a running back worth taking in the top 16 this year, we'd be talking about him. There just isn't one.
There's just not one here.
Like Todd Gurley, when fully healthy, is worth where he was drafted.
I want you to remember that 3 years from now, when it'll be one of these guys. And
It's
I have no
always-
idea which one. It'll depend where they go and how much that team wants to run the ball. But one of these guys will be considered the best running back in football in 3
I
years.
feel like
One of the guys picked this year will be considered the best running back in football in 3 years.
The fact that you're
Think
not
about who
pointing
is-
out a specific guy, though, I think goes to the point of
That it doesn't matter.
I get that.
Who's the best running back in football right now?
Probably Barkley.
Because common perception has been over the past 2 or 3 years that it's been Zeke, It's been Barkley. It's now Henry. It was McCaffrey. It was Le'Veon Bell. It's tons of them. And Nick Chubb will be, if they start winning games, Nick Chubb will get attention for being one of the best.
Most of those guys were really highly drafted. Just saying.
And they get the ball 300 times a year. So they end up with 1,300 yards, and we say they're awesome.
Well, it's the second contract that spooks everybody.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
And that is a separate argument.
Huge.
Like, if a guy is special, he's worth drafting in the first round. It's the second contract that should scare you.
Is it worth drafting in the first round if he holds out after 3 years?
The point is, there's not a consensus number one running back in this draft.
There's not a consensus.
That's the point of it.
There is not a running back that anybody agrees is worth a first round pick.
There has been in the past.
Yeah,
Zeke,
exactly.
Gurley,
Right.
Barkley.
It's not because the position doesn't fully matter. It's just that this is not the best crop of running backs.
Let's go ahead and go back to defense, though, for
Jeff's
this next
come
question.
over the table at me.
2 questions here from Seth Hall. What are some names of edge players that would be drafted for traits later in the draft? So potentially day 3. We can maybe even bump that up to day 2 if we want to. And do you see a double dip at cornerback where the Cowboys maybe try and address some of that secondary need with multiple picks here in 2020?
Alex Highsmith of Charlotte is a good edge player. I think you could say he may be a 3-4 type because he's got a little bit of a lean frame.
You got something for those Conference USA defensive players, right?
We'll find those small school guys that go dominate.
How about Ladarius Hamilton from Texas or North Texas for an edge guy?
You know, look, as much as I support the Mean Green, and you know that I do.
You do.
Conference USA basketball champs, by the way.
Oh, right.
I don't know if Ladarius Hamilton, maybe 7th round. You know,
it would have to be a late round or maybe even a signee guy.
Yeah, and everything's traits there. Another name, I don't know. Like I think Darrell Taylor from Tennessee. I think he might slide into the 3rd round just because there is going to be people grasping for pass rushers of some sort. Jonathan Garvin's got a little upside too from Miami. I think he's a guy who's kind of interesting. But man, I tell you, it does dry up very quickly at edge this year after the first two days. So, I mean, look, there's always going to be sleepers that you kind of come across, but I haven't been wowed by a ton of guys on those. Day 3 guys. Usually, you find guys at each position that you kind of make your guy. Man, at edge rusher, it hasn't been that way.
I'm absolutely terrified of drafting edge rushers outside like the top 100 or so picks, to be honest with you. There's always going to be surprises. Like Max Crosby's a guy that we can talk about that was a 4th round pick who looks really promising, but by and large, the guys who can bend and get to the corner at the NFL level, like that is such a valuable trait that those guys go early, even if they're not polished.
Here you go, guys. I just wanted to pull up my combine sheet and find the guys who run better than a 7-second 3-cone that ran a good 40, and those are your sleepers. So Jason Strobridge.
North Carolina.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not a sleeper to me. To me, that's a day 2 guy.
I might have Strobridge wrong. Might have wrong. Nope, he was a 7.45. Nope. Your sleeper is Derek Tuska at North Dakota State.
Ooh, we'll take it.
Our guy went sub-7 there in the 3-cone, and let me see if there's anyone else in this group. That's my only sleeper.
Yeah, there's not.
The only one.
You know what? Travis Gibson from Tulsa is a player that I think is kind of interesting. He had 8 sacks last year. He's from Cedar Hill. He's a guy who, you see a little bit of just speed. That's what you're kind of looking for at some point. I mean, the run-stopping defensive ends aren't fun,
No.
but they are needed in the league, and that's what you're going to kind of usually get on day 3. But as far as a guy who could turn into a sack guy, Travis Gibson from Tulsa, who was a Senior Bowl guy, he's a guy who's a little interesting, probably a round 4, round 5 type of guy.
I've got another Senior Bowl guy for you. How about DJ Wanham from South Carolina?
I'm not nuts about Wanham on tape. In fact, I've got a grade on him. Let me see what my grade is on him.
But kind of while you're finding that,
Curtis Weaver ran a 7-flat 3-cone.
Yeah,
Jeff,
I might have to take him seriously.
Yeah, you do.
Dang it.
Was talking about this 40-yard dash.
But again, that's probably a 3rd pick.
round, maybe 3rd.
Yeah.
You really, though? Okay, but back to Wanham. Wanham has a 4.7 40, and then also he had a 7.25 2-cone. So he's had good numbers, solid numbers for an edge guy. Vertical of 34.5 inches, broad jump of 123. He tested really well at the combine. Looked pretty good at the Senior Bowl as well. Maybe he inches his way up into the 4th round.
My problem with him is just the getting blown off the ball if you're going to run the ball right at him. Which, look, hey, we're talking about upside, pass rush type guys. In fact, DJ Wanham, They played Alabama, and he beat Jedrick Wills a couple times. I mean, like, he got around him. He didn't finish the job, but he got around Jedrick Wills, who may be the first offensive tackle taken in this draft. But you don't see him finish very often, and you definitely don't see the play strength. You see the speed. You do not see the play strength, and that's kind of bothersome, But what are we talking about here? We're talking about round 5? Round 6? The traits are there. DJ want him right there. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
That was the question, actually.
That's
the question was round 5 or round 7. Absolutely.
Exactly. So, real quick, yes or no, double dip at corner?
I would love it. I beat his name into the ground. I'm a big fan of Dane Jackson. Pittsburgh looked great at the Senior Bowl. Sticky. I like his tenacity. He's a day 3 cornerback. So
I keep taking him in the mocks. You have a good Senior Bowl, I pick you in the 5th round.
Absolutely. Well, because it's the one. Obviously,
that's how it goes.
You can watch all the tape you want,
Look at him cover.
When you get to go to Mobile and go against some of the best players, and the receivers in Mobile were fantastic. So
great.
For him to play as well as he did against some of those guys was really impressive to me. It's hard to say, but I could absolutely see a 1st and 5th, 2nd and 4th type of deal. It depends on what they do in free agency, but you got to fix the secondary somehow.
It'd be a broken record, but 2 of my pet cat meow meow meows.
Yeah. Louisiana Tech guy,
Louisiana Tech, and Meek Robertson. We're going to find out
5'4".
Well, maybe teams aren't going to find out how healthy he is.
That's a fascinating
He's not
point.
5'4", Jeff. He's 5'9".
Oh, sorry.
But if that's not for your taste, could I interest you in Reggie Robinson of Tulsa? I like these Tulsa guys a little bit. Reggie Robinson, I've got a 3rd-round grade on.
To me,
he's a top 100 player. Now, you are kind of starting to see draft Twitter kind of, watch the Reggie Robinson tape. Woo-hoo! Oh, no, the Reggie Robinson tape's been good all along. He's exciting, and he's really good. I know he got hurt and is not declaring Tylan Wallace, the wide receiver from Oklahoma State. He shut him down.
Yeah.
And that was very excellent. And Tylan Wallace would have been one of those guys, if he came out, that was in the mix, top 10, top 12 wide receiver in the draft. Reggie Robinson is a name not to sleep on. I would draft him as high as pick 81. 82, right?
82.
Yeah, 3rd-round pick, whatever it is. I would draft him that high, but I do think because of the small school thing, because he's a little lanky, because he doesn't like to play the run too much, I think you're going to see him fall to day 3, and I would love him at 4th-round value. Reggie Robinson and a Meek Robertson from Louisiana Tech. There's some good cornerbacks on day 3 to keep your eye on.
I like it. Jeff, yes or no? Double dip at corner.
Yes, double dip at corner.
There we go. Okay, so that'll do it for Twitter on the 20. When we come back, I've got 5 potential draftees that will replace Randall Cobb. We'll see who likes which pick and where in the NFL draft when we return here on the DallasCowboys.com Draft Show presented by Miller Lite.
Since 1865, Stetson hats are American-made with pride right here in Texas. And Stetson is proud to be on the field with America's team. Want to show your Texas and team pride too? You can. By purchasing your own Stetson, you can look just like how the flag guys do on field at every home game. Stetson hats, the official crown of all self-respecting Cowboys and your favorite football team. Get yours today in the Stadium Pro Shop or at Stetson.com.
Your new apartment's big. Such a great deal.
It's okay.
Just okay? What's not to?
It's right above the subway.
Well, I bet you don't even notice it after the...
That's my neighbor, Angus.
A deal that's just okay is not okay. Get a great deal with America's Best Network. Come into an AT&T store to find out how to get one of our popular smartphones for $0 down. Based on GWS 1 score, September 2019.
Essilor is a proud sponsor of the Dallas Cowboys, helping fans see more and do more with our best vision solutions. Our lens technologies reveal a world more beautiful than you can imagine. For a limited time, get the Essilor Next Gen offer, where you buy the latest generation of Transitions lenses with select Essilor lenses. You can choose a second pair of clear lenses for free with qualifying frame purchases. Restrictions apply. Find a participating eye care professional by visiting EssilorUSA.com. Essilor. See more, do more.
So, you're shopping, and that's when you see it. Aisle 23. Dr. Pepper stacked from top to bottom as far as the eye can see. The phrase too good to be true comes to mind, yet there it is. A rich, delicious Dr. Pepper paradise. Wait, did that can of Dr. Pepper just open itself for you? They all are. As if to say, so nice to treat you. And even though it feels weird to talk to a can, you pick one up and say, it's so nice to be treated. Dr. Pepper, so nice to treat you.
This is the DallasCowboys.com Draft Show.
Final segment here from the SWBC Mortgage Studios, the DallasCowboys.com draft show presented by Miller Lite. Wide receiver has been a topic of conversation for quite some time, really the entirety of the draft show this season because of this class and how deep it is. And now we've got a little bit of a spot to fill. I remember the first show of this season, Jeff Kavanaugh said, I'm convinced Randall Cobb's coming back because of Mike McCarthy's press conference.
I didn't know about Bill O'Brien.
Yeah.
I wasn't as informed as I needed to be about Bill O'Brien.
You didn't
Bill
have
O'Brien
that wrench thrown into
does
it yet?
what Bill O'Brien wants.
It is absolutely not our fault. I mean, I think the world of Randall Cobb as a guy, and he's a great player. Randall Cobb himself, I think, probably did a double take when he saw the offer.
He's like,
He's like,
I just had a 1 year, $5 million deal,
like,
and now I'm a year older, and I'm getting double that for 3. Okay.
Double? Triple?
Well, $9 million a year.
Well, yeah, but he's getting 18 guaranteed.
Okay, yeah.
Ooh.
He's getting 18 million guaranteed, 27 million. I mean, it sounds mean to say, like, get your money, Randall, but, like, that's stunning to me.
Bill's incompetent. I mean,
I would have
now
never...
they're leaking, like, what DeAndre Hopkins wanted in a contract to try to be like, that's why we traded him. It's not because I'm really mean to him and made Aaron Hernandez comments. It's because he wanted 18 to 20 million.
DeAndre
and the whole
Hopkins,
world's like, wait, that's what he's worth.
Yeah. Like, that's
what receivers
He's the
get.
best receiver in the league right now, potentially. Now,
sorry. Sidebar.
In a world where Bill O'Brien is not running a football team, I think Randall
Cobb's back.
would be back.
Probably. That's a very good point. But we have to replace him nonetheless because he is not going to be wearing a star on the side of the helmet. I've got 5 guys in this draft, all from different parts of the draft, that could be replacements.
All right.
Now, up in the first round, I have Jalen Reagor of TCU. And the reason why I put him there is because I didn't want to be a coward and say either one of the 3 guys that could be there, Henry Ruggs from Alabama, Jerry Jeudy from Alabama, and CeeDee Lamb from Oklahoma. I don't want to bank on the fact that one of those 3 guys is going to be there, so I put Jalen Reagor because you're not going to get Reagor at 51. I really don't think so.
Do you think he's worth 17?
Potentially, yes.
Okay.
I think he's that good. And I don't know, maybe we've had this conversation, I think this debate prior, but I think he could be good enough to be up at 17 if that's where you're willing to take a guy. I've got KJ Hamler from Penn State in the second round, Lynn Bowden Jr. out of Kentucky, guy who really reminds me of Randall Cobb when you watch his tape.
Randall Cobb told me himself in November, he was like, he's the best Kentucky football player ever.
Wow.
And I was like, that's high praise coming from one of the best Kentucky football players ever.
If
he was
not
like
the best.
Yeah.
Because of the situation?
Just in general. I mean,
because he moved to quarterback?
He moved to quarterback and like didn't miss a beat. Like the offense was insane.
It just looks weird when he throws it.
A little bit.
Yeah, because he's not a quarterback.
He's a wide receiver.
He's a high school quarterback.
But at the same time, Lynn Bowden Jr. also just kind of a Swiss Army knife. He's very reliable, much like Randall Cobb. Then I have Devin Duvernay as an early day 3 guy. That's a little bit of a stretch for me to say he's early day 3. I think he could go as high as the 3rd round. But he could fall to the 4th, and if he's there, then I'll say that maybe he was the guy that was left off of this long list of wide receivers. And then late day 3, I have James Prochet out of SMU. Which guy out of these 5 do you guys like the most in terms of the Cowboys replacing Randall Cobb?
I like the best player the most.
Jalen Reagor.
So I'll take Reagor. But we're combining
at
the
17?
player at the position, right? Yeah. Because I think this is obviously an awesome segment idea.
Yeah.
I did the exact same thing.
Did you?
On my YouTube.
Oh, did you really?
So everybody check that out.
Oops.
No. Because
My
I think
bad.
it's the thing that makes the most sense right now. Is
it does.
Where in the draft and which name do you like? And amongst those ones, I would probably say Hamler in the 2nd.
Yeah?
Or
I would have guessed you'd be out on Hamler.
I like Hamler. I have other names I want to throw in there. KJ Hill at Ohio State.
Yeah. Didn't have a good combine, but he's still up there.
He had a bad combine, and I would still take him in the 3rd, and I'd love him in the 4th.
I was going to throw out Hill for the same reason as if you can get him at 123. I mean, I think you could plug and play KJ Hill, honestly.
The reason I like Hamler is just because he's the only one of that group, maybe Duvernay to some extent, where you can say, okay, Amari Cooper's a bigger threat and Michael Gallup's a bigger threat, but you still have to know where is KJ Hamler.
Because of his
if you
speed
don't
and his
respect
agility.
the fact that he can run by you at any moment, then your defense is in trouble. And I think adding that element is fun. It's like what Will Fuller does for Houston.
Yeah.
The splits for Deshaun Watson when Will Fuller's on or off the field, the splits are much bigger than when DeAndre Hopkins was on or off the field.
Because teams have to respect that speed.
You got to. You have to be afraid of it. And so Hamler, I'm interested in a lot. Maybe at 51.
How good of a route runner is Hamler compared to Devin Duvernay? Because Duvernay is not your typical route runner.
I don't think Duvernay's a good route runner.
I don't think so either. I think he rounds it up a little bit, and I think he's a straight line guy.
Yeah, and
is Hamler a better route runner though?
Yeah, Hamler is one of those guys that when you watch him on tape, if it's one guy trying to stay in front of him, you can't. The acceleration, the speed, just the physical tools, they're different. Duvernay's fast too, but he's going to run you over. He's not going to be able to really route you up. He gets to it Texas because you get so many free releases where he can kind of stem a guy and then break, and he can do that. Mm-hmm. But in terms of lateral agility as a route runner, Hamler's got it, and I don't think Duvernay does.
My big difference in those two guys to me, aside from the route running that you're talking about, is that Duvernay catches everything that's thrown at him, and Hamler does not.
Right.
Hamler's a little bit of a body catcher, isn't he?
A little bit of a body
Hamler's
catcher.
questionable.
He's a small
hands.
guy.
And there's a little bit of Hamler that makes you go.
Y'all are killing me because this is why I didn't think you were going to talk like Hamler. Sorry, finish your thought.
Well, the Duvernay brings a little more in terms of toughness, catching everything. Some of those things, but the thing is kind of a mixture. Both of these guys kind of a mixture of what Randall Cobb brought. Because Randall Cobb had some drops.
Yeah.
But in terms of the toughness and the attitude that you want and all that stuff, like Duvernay's got that. So
I just don't want to draft.
I'll take the guy later in the draft.
I don't want to draft a really unpolished fast guy. That's all. That's
fair.
I just don't want
in the
to.
second round.
Yeah,
you would do that in the fourth round.
Sure.
Because can I dangle John Hightower from Boise State out there?
Day 3 is when traits take over. But like with a top 100 pick, I want a more polished product.
That's why I like KJ Hill. I think he's the best slot route runner in the class.
I agree.
He's not a good athlete. He's not big. He's not super fast. He just runs great routes and gets open from the slot and catches it.
Everything.
I think Lynn Bowden Jr. is fascinating, and I think he's under the radar in this very crowded class for a couple of reasons. One, he's been dealing with an injury that's kept him from working out. And that, obviously now with all the quarantine, it's totally different. Mm-hmm. On top of that, there's not a lot of tape of him playing wide receiver in 2019. Yeah. So
that's a problem.
It's a problem, but I'm just willing to take a chance on his and just usefulness. Like Kyle called him a Swiss Army knife. He played quarterback at Kentucky. Did not stop their offense from being extremely effective.
He was unbelievably reliable for the Wildcats. He really was.
He's got speed. He can carry the ball. He runs like a running back. He's got good vision. Whatever. And
he's the guy that's just better at sports than all of us.
Yes. And Mike McCarthy talked about
play whatever.
That's kind of what Randall Cobb was.
Cover somebody? Okay.
One of the 19 clues we got that made us think Randall Cobb might be coming back was Mike McCarthy going on and on about how he liked to use Randall in the backfield and his quarterback experience made him useful for this and that and the other. Maybe it's a lazy comparison because they both went to Kentucky, but I don't think so. I think they're very similar players.
And the thing is I put him on this list, and it escaped my mind whenever I was making it that also Randall Cobb went to Kentucky. Because I was just looking for a guy to replace Randall Cobb. So as much as you could really say it's a lazy comparison just because of the uniforms they wore, there's very similar players.
Quarterbacks can play in the slot, very athletic, good,
reliable,
move out of the backfield, move all over the formation. I'd be ecstatic to draft that guy.
Third round?
I don't have a good grasp on his range.
Again, and I'm thinking third through fifth, and I don't know.
I don't think he goes in the top 2 rounds for sure.
No.
I've had a scout tell me that he could be a second round pick.
Gosh.
With this many receivers,
awesome.
though,
it's hard to trust.
I know. I think if he's there in the third round, I'd be thrilled. But I don't have a good grasp on it, but I think he's a great player.
So,
man.
KT, did you actually give a player? Did you say
I dangled
Duvernay?
out there John Hightower, of Boise State, someone who's not on your list.
Okay.
Just because the Boise State background, but he is a matchup guy. He's a mismatch guy. He's a speed guy. He's a guy who's got to win early in the route because he's not very strong when he's going up in press coverage and things like that. But the jet sweep elements and things like that McCarthy does like to use in his offense, and Kellen does like to use in his offense. He was very good at that. He's a guy you can hand the ball to and things like that. So also return value. So Hightower's an interesting player, but again, I know I chose a guy who's not on your list right there. Duvernay, to me, right there. I love KJ Hill, but Duvernay.
Fourth round Duvernay?
Dude, isn't his range doesn't it feel like his range is right in between where the Cowboys will be picking in the third and the fourth?
Yeah, I think third or fourth.
Can't you say that? It breaks my heart that we can't really talk about Justin Jefferson But I don't think
that's between 17 and 51.
Not super realistic at 17, but definitely won't be there at 51.
I'd love him at 51. I don't want him at 17.
Exactly.
So, all right.
I guess you can't rule out the possibility that they address this in free agency. I think our friend Jane Slater linking Emmanuel Sanders to the Cowboys this morning. We'll see, but
so much sense. He's got bad knee, but if you could get him on the Randall Cobb deal, 1 year, $8 million,
depending on the size of the deal. But man, there's just so many good receivers to be had in this draft. But I mean,
would you rather sign Emmanuel Sanders or draft a free agent or draft a wide receiver?
I'd rather draft a guy. Although, if you could sign a veteran to a very friendly deal like they did with Randall Cobb, wouldn't necessarily stop you from drafting somebody either.
Do both.
Yeah, I'm fine.
I do want them to fill the need before the draft. I don't want you to go into a draft and say, I
needing to find a slot receiver.
I have to get a slot receiver. I think that would be a little bit silly. But that doesn't mean you have to go Emmanuel Sanders. There could be a lower level to it.
If there's a position where you could plug and play, it's probably this. And, I mean, that's tricky because receivers so hard to adjust to in the NFL.
They've used a lot of late-round picks on receivers and haven't
had any.
They also have
Noah Brown ain't doing a whole lot. Cedric Wilson.
Yeah. No, you're not wrong.
Tavon, too, could be
Danny
back.
Cole.
This is a little bit of a different draft, though. Wow.
I'm going to go back some years.
Matt Johnson at safety, remember that?
Matt Johnson, I remember, got a pick
Poor guy.
in practice and then limped to the trainer.
Gonna
the
say,
same play. I was like, that is the most Matt Johnson thing of all time.
Pour one out for Matt.
Well, that is going to do it here for the DallasCowboys.com draft show presented by Miller Lite. Did you think that name was going to be the last one we threw out?
Hey, Matt Johnson and Danny Cole, wherever you guys are, keep it real.
Keeping it real. From Jeff Kavanaugh, for Kevin Turner, for Dave Hellman, I'm Kyle Yeomans. Thanks for listening. We'll be back next week here from the SWBC Mortgage Studios in Frisco.
This has been a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about this, Cowboys?